Like I said, I get excited about anything that has to do with speaking or being able to use your voice to make impact in the world, whether it's with clients like some of you, or on a stage in front of a group of 10, 20, 500, or 1,000 people as well. That's where Speak Plus was born from. I'm a professional speaker myself. I've been doing this work since I was 17 years old, because at 17, you just got all the gusto in the world just to get out there and do it. And I've also been a radio broadcaster for about 18 years as well. So refining stories and making impact via the voice is what I've done for a long time. So I have some tools and tips I want to share with you to help you be more confident and comfortable and charismatic speaker, including also some, very practical steps to getting on what we call your stage. I'll explain that in just a little bit, because I'm sure there are some people who are listening to the recording or even live right now that you may have at some time in your recent or previous history where you felt a little nervous about speaking. Give me a little hands up if anyone felt ever nervous about speaking. Right? The word speaking almost makes people nervous in some cases, right? So I promise over the next 30 minutes that I'll be providing you, again, some tools, some action steps, but most importantly, and this is why my programs are called Speak Plus, because the plus part is our mindset. And that's generally what gets in our way more than anything when it comes to getting on the stages you want to be on. Again, whether it's in front of your clients or on a keynote stage or workshops or facilitation, it's the mindset that can really get in our way. So I'll be digging into that just a little bit as well as we go forward. For everyone who just arrived, there will be a Q&A at the end, and I will be handing out the recording. So you can take notes or you can just listen and be immersive, but make sure you write down any questions you might have so I can be of the most value at the end of this 30 minutes as well. So you're staring down a microphone. Maybe the microphone is just a symbol. Maybe you're actually just looking into the audience because the room's not big enough to need a microphone. But generally, the main questions that people come to me with when they have a desire or that inclination to become a speaker, to do more of that work, is they have these questions in their minds, right? And some of the most common questions I get is like, what am I going to say? First and foremost, what am I actually going to say when I'm in front of that microphone, in front of that group? Because I don't know about you, but sometimes if your brain kind of gets too muddled up, you lose track of what you should even actually say. The next question that is most common is, how am I going to say it? Do I use my hands? How do I use my voice? Do I walk around? Do I not walk around? And these are things that we think about that can get in our way of being comfortable and allowing our natural charisma to just shine through as well. And the third one, a little bit longer, but probably the most important, is how will people feel when they receive my energy, words, and wisdom? How are they actually going to feel? Because at the end of the day, isn't that what matters, right? It's how people feel. They're not going to remember most of what you say, but they're going to remember how they feel. So that is the goal of this workshop, is to help provide some tools so you don't have to think so much, but you can just show up, share your energy, share your words and wisdom, and make that impact via the work that you do and the thought leadership that you have inside of you and your stories. If you are here, it is because you do have stories to share. I mean, you wouldn't be on this workshop if you never wanted to ever get in front of an audience and share some words and wisdom and thought leadership. So let's think of this as your brain as a broadcast tool. And there's so much in there that this is also one of the challenges for many people, is like, it's hard to think of how to extract exactly what you should be sharing, what stories you should be telling, what thought leadership, how are you going to put it all together? It's there, but maybe you're finding it a little bit challenging to get clear on that. And that's where my work comes in. They actually call me in the program the extractor. I don't know if that's a good term or not, but I think it's pretty fitting, because it's very easy, even in my own mind, to get overwhelmed with how much content and knowledge and skills and experiences and wisdom we have to share. But to be able to extract it, to create golden nuggets out of it, that's some of the challenges. But if you're here, it's because you have them. So I'm glad you're here. Yay, you are taking a step. It's fantastic. Your stage truly does await. I love that kind of slogan, because again, when I say your stage, that means whatever you want to be doing in terms of making impact with an audience that matters to you. It could be your client one-on-one. Speaking is any way that we use our words, voice, wisdom, and space. So it could be clients one-on-one. It could be on a big stage, small stage, whatever your stage is. You can take these tools and ideas and mindsets I'm going to share with you and apply them to level up as a speaker. on any stage that matters to you. My goal as a Speak Plus coach, this is the work that I do, is to help you develop your energy and your voice. Again, to speak with that clarity, courage, and confidence, to do it in a way that feels good, right? So you're not stressing about what you're doing with your hands or what you're going to say next. To do it in a way, and this is what I teach, a system so that you can actually get on stage and just be you. Yay, to make maximum impact, which I think is probably the biggest goal of any thought leader that I've ever worked with. Nobody comes into one of my programs or one of these workshops saying, I don't want to make impact. I just want to talk. Right? No one does that. We want to make impact. So that's the goal. That's the goal. So I make more impact in my life by helping other people make impact. And it's really cool ripple to see an effect. So we're going to take some steps here. The first step we're going to take together is, what about the content? Like, what are you going to talk about? I'm going to offer you some tools and ideas. The second is delivery. How are you going to say it, right? And the third is impact. How are you going to make impact? It's very simple. It's not as complicated as you think. I'll be sharing some mindsets in there as well. So let's get rolling. Everyone's feeling good? Yeah, everyone's good? Okay, yay. So the first step to elevating your ability to be an impactful, charismatic, I should say, and energetic speaker is, of course, your content. Now, many of us, all of us have probably, if I could sit down with each of you, you have vast years of experience, probably expertise in your field, in your industry, and you have lots of data. But it's not data that makes the most impact when you're actually talking to a client one-on-one or even on a stage in a keynote or a workshop. Data is important and it can be used to solidify what you're saying. But the most important content is actually your stories, the lessons that you have learned. And you have so many in your brain, that picture of someone with that TV on their head. You have so many stories. But again, it can be a little bit overwhelming because you have so many and they're just a part of you that you maybe don't realize how many of these lessons could be so useful in creating very, very memorable, engaging, and impactful presentations. So let's guide you through this. The golden nuggets of content are your stories. Where are they? Where are they in your mind? I'm going to help you to extract them. So the first way of doing this is to think about a lesson that you have learned, whether it's professional or personal, that has really impacted how you do things. If it has to mean something to you, to mean something to someone else. And guaranteed, if it's a lesson you learned and something that has helped you to elevate your life experience, when you share it, it will do the same for someone else. So think about that for a second, right? It's like, what is a lesson that you've learned? It could be recent, or maybe it was when you're younger, a teen, who knows? But you learned a lesson that has really informed how you do things in your life now. So you're going to choose one lesson that you learned and think of that as a golden nugget, right? It's a golden nugget of information of it's a part of who you are. And now we're going to mold that into content. In the Speak Plus program, I actually have a whole process where we work through your stories and really kind of create them into a package that you can present to your audience. So I'm planting some seeds right now about how you can do that. Lessons learned is where you really want to focus your time. Here's an example from my own life experience. When I was a young girl, I was so excited to go for ice cream because my dad said, kids, going for ice cream. It was my brother and I piled us into the station wagon. The only problem is that on that particular day, I was cranky. I think I was like 8 or 10. I don't even know. I was cranky. And so I was doing the whole, I'm not going to be enjoyable. I'm not going to have fun in this, even though deep down, of course, I wanted the ice cream because I love ice cream. And I'm sorry if this makes you crave ice cream. So we get in the station wagon, we go down the ice cream place, but I was really digging my heels in. I was not going to have anything to do with it because even though I wanted it, the narrative at the moment was I was cranky. And so my brother ordered the ice cream. He got 2 big scoops. I can remember him walking out of the ice cream store with his big giant feet because he hadn't grown into them yet. And he's licking his ice cream, so happy. And I just was silent. I did not ask for any ice cream. And as our station wagon drove away from that ice cream parlor, I was sobbing because I was so sad that I didn't get ice cream. Interesting, right? And my dad looked back and he said, Trisha, I'm going to teach you a lesson. If you don't ask, you don't get. Now, that is a very simple story of something from my childhood, but boy, has that informed me, because even at that young age, I recognized the lesson learned And I often think about that. If I don't ask, I'm not going to get. So I want the ice cream. So write out a defining life moment for you that taught you a lesson, that lesson learned, that golden nugget usually the first ones we think of are the most impactful in our life. And as you go down the path of doing more and more speaking, you're going to extract more and more. But write it out, right? Get it out of your head onto paper, start molding it and playing with it and learning how you can share it in a way that is a gift to your audience. Because when you share the story, that's what they're going to remember. And anyone knows that it's not the content, it's the stories that speakers say that you really do connect and engage with. I have a story formula for you to help make it a little bit easier. It's what happened. I didn't get ice cream at the ice cream store, even though I was wanting it, but I was cranky. How it felt. I was sad, I was sobbing, I just wanted the ice cream so bad. Why? But I was cranky and I didn't ask for it. And then what you learned, the lesson that you learned. And if you want to take this to a next mastery level, the final piece, just to give you a heads up, would be giving people tips on how they too can take that lesson and use it in their own life. But let's start simple. And so this story formula is a guidepost for that. So remember, I'm sending you this recording in case you don't have time to write this down because I know I'm going pretty fast, but I want to give you as much as I can. So that's the story formula. And you use the story formula over and over again. In fact, one day, if you're so inclined to do like an hour presentation, half an hour presentation, 3-hour workshop, there's actually a speech roadmap that I teach. And essentially, all it is a story, lesson learned, tip, what I call a bridge to the next lesson. And it's the way that you can arrange your presentation so you never have to memorize a thing. I don't memorize nothing because it's story after story after story, which is really, really cool. So get a notebook out, write your stories and ideas down, keep them compiled. We call this a story inventory. Keep it piled, keep it in your bag, or you could use your phone. You have notes. I do tons of notes when I'm walking because the best ideas come when we're not able to actually write things down, right? Or you can use your audio, voice memo, that kind of thing. And if you're having a shower and you're having an idea for a story, just like, don't think you're going to remember it because you won't. I mean, I don't. And most people I know don't. But if it's a good idea, write it down. Okay. Make sure you do that. And you're going to end up filling a book or your notes with all these great story ideas. So when you do have to do a presentation to a client or on stage, to your association, at a conference, whatever, you have a lot of these stories you can actually work with using the speech roadmap or just the story formula that I shared with you. So there you have it. Some content you can actually work with. Check in the time. The second step to becoming an elevated, more engaging and charismatic speaker in a way that is fun and more relaxed for you is, of course, delivery. How are you going to actually talk about what you want to talk about? Now, the first thing to remember is that you just showing up with your unique energy is value, right? So no one can be you. There's a million of us motivational speakers and trainers saying the same thing. But at the end of the day, no one has my energy. No one has my experience or my mindsets or, my unique puzzle pieces that make my life. And that is the same for you. So I'm going to ask you to have faith in that. Have faith that when you show up, you're just you, and that makes you different. The very base, the foundation of it all. So when you are looking at that microphone, how are you going to articulate your thought leadership stories in a way and deliver it in a way that is engaging, is interesting, using your own unique energy? I like to think of it as an alchemy, speaking of these 4 things. We got your words, what you actually say, your stories, your data, the important points you want to make, your voice, how you sound, how you say it, your tempo, all that fun stuff. And then there's a space, and some people don't really think about the space, but it is the space that you take up in terms of having agency, if that makes sense, over what you have to say. So when I stand on a stage and I plant my feet and I share, let's say, a power statement, which is something I'll share with what that is in just a few minutes, I can take up more space than if I'm just walking around and sharing little stories here and there. Like there's a way to take up space and have agency over that. And you will get there. And everyone in this group probably has different levels of experience. So you may already be there, but something to think about how you command and take up space. And over time, as your confidence grows and you begin to truly connect that your thought leadership and your energy creates impact, you'll be able to use that space and mold it a little bit better or a little bit different for yourself. And finally, all of this comes together to energy, and they combine to be your unique energy. No one else has it. So just have faith in that. That's probably one of the biggest things people have trouble with in the beginning if they're choosing to try to get more speaking engagements, is having faith that they are unique, not only in what they have to say, but in the energy they bring to the stage. So you are special, right? Isn't that a kind of a cliche? But it's true. It is very, very true. So I want you to imagine that as a speaker, whether you're talking with a client, this is even applicable to client processes, or you're talking to a group of 20, 40, again, 1,000, 2,000, that you are the host. You are guiding the conversation. This is also part of space. So imagine that you are like driving a bus, right? And you stop and your audience is waiting at the sideline and you're like, hey, come on board. I'm taking you on an adventure. I'm taking you on a journey. So that is a bit of a mindset tweak. So I am your host, right? So we're talking about hosting and leading the conversation and the content that you're delivering. And that's really important because the speakers who do very well in terms of engagement and connection recognize that they have to have an agency over hosting and leading that session and that conversation. You are essentially engineering experiences that fuel connection and engagement. So you're in engineering the experience. And when you make that switch, you make that connection, it changes everything, right? And it's actually really fun to engineer experiences like this. So for instance, in this workshop, I have agency over how I'm delivering this and how I'm engaging you. And I know this is virtual, so it's a little bit different, but I'm asking questions and offering ideas that I feel will resonate with you. So I'm engineering the experience. So let's dive into some tools to help you with your delivery that are practical, that you can actually use them immediately, whether again, you're having a client conversation or you're doing a workshop in the next couple days. The first one is pie. I teach this all the time. It's very simple. It's a very effective way of opening a presentation or even using that same opening then to closing it. We call closing the gap between the beginning and the end. Essentially, here's the idea behind it. I love this picture of a pie. It makes me crave pie. Ice cream and pie. I'm not sure what you're craving now, and it wouldn't be apple. No, it would be like raspberry, blueberry. But anyways, so imagine a big giant pie and you're going to share it with everyone in your audience. That is like the feeling behind it. Pie is about, hey, I got this for you and I'm excited to share it. And PI is an acronym, of course, and it stands for this: purpose, interaction, and experience. This next slide has more words than I normally would put on a slide, but it needs it to be effective. Here we go. PI, so the purpose. Today, I'm going to share my tools and tips to help you be a more confident, impactful speaker. So I'm sharing the purpose of why we are all here. And you'll notice I did that in the very beginning of this workshop. The I for interaction. How many of you experience stress when it comes to speaking in front of people? Or how many of you have ever felt a little hesitation before you speak in front of a group, right? People are immediately engaged because you're asking a question that resonates with some of the problems that they need solutions for. And the final piece of pie, as we're sharing it around the room, is the experience. So over the next hour, I promise to deliver highly effective tools that will help you to actually enjoy sharing your thought leadership. Are you ready to roll? Right? And this is a very powerful and simple way of opening up a presentation. So I hope that's helpful for you and that you can use pie as a very quick way to create an opening of a presentation. Okay, the next tool, the first tool is pie. And the next tool is to ask questions. I love asking questions. I think they're one of the most underrated and most powerful ways of connecting people in a group, in an audience, or even one-on-one with clients. You probably use this all the time without realizing it. And if you do realize it, then you're using it as a tool already as well. Asking questions that resonate. There's a little bit element of this in pie, but now we're taking it and sprinkling it throughout our presentation. Again, whether it's a half an hour, 3 hours, a full day. So here's a question. Okay. This resonates for me. Let's see if it resonates for you. Have you ever started watching silly reels online and 45 minutes later you dramatically put your phone down because you have so much work to do and not enough time to get it done? Has has anyone done that? No hands up. Yeah, right? No? 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 Okay, well, it's just me then. So the funny thing is, we got to think about our audience. Now, a lot of people may resonate with this, but not everyone. I recently did the same presentation for a group of management consultants. I'm also a certified management consultant. Anyways, no one could relate to this one. I'm like, really? Not one person gets stuck on silly reels? But if you have, or you can relate to any element of this, these questions draw people in. They start thinking, yes, that is me. I have done that, that kind of thing. So that's why questions are powerful. Now they can be fun and lighthearted, get people kind of on our bus and enjoying in the ride, on the adventure. But then when we own our space, when we plant our feet, we can also ask questions that are thought provoking, that help to engineer the experience, to navigate the journey towards maybe more insightful questions. How about this one? What truth are you resisting? Now, this question, when I ask it at a certain point in my regular presentations, it's a very common one that I ask, will often take a lot of the air out of the room, because I'm sharing ideas for workplace wellness, sharing ideas for how to, expand how you are as a leader and a manager, as a person. And so within the context of that conversation, when I ask, what truth are you resisting? You might connect with something that you're resisting. And that can be emotional. So we have to give space for people to have that emotion, to think it through. And then, of course, to bring them back up. So the questions can be very useful in engineering the experience that you want your audience to go through as you drive the bus forward. And the third tool I want to share with you is to use power statements. So these power statements are the golden nuggets of your stories, like ask for what you want, or one of my most common ones in my life, or life doesn't have to be so hard. It's one of my core teachings. And over time, you'll develop your core teachings, core philosophies that become part of your brand. And one of them for me is life doesn't have to be so hard. Now, I teach that with a couple of stories that are funny and insightful that people relate to. But at the end of it all, the golden nugget that I deliver is that life does not have to be so hard. And people remember the power statements. They take them back. They don't remember all the other details, but the power statements are the most powerful. That's why they're called that. And it's really an extension, giving a piece of your heart to them that they can take with them to, you know, elevate themselves in whatever way you are seeking for them to do that. So there you have it, some tools to engage and empower your audience. I know I only have a couple more minutes here, but I want to share some more with you around a few things that people really ask me a lot. Do I have to be funny? I get that all the time. Do I have to be funny? Whoops. You may not be funny, and that's okay. There's a lot of speakers who aren't super hilarious or super comedic. Often humor is relatable, so you can sprinkle it in, but it doesn't have to be jokes, or they can be stories of your own that highlight part of your personality. Or you can even engage people with some ideas of memes. Like, I love this one. I can't even imagine the self-control required to work at a bubble wrap factory, right? Who's got that self-control? I don't. Everyone can relate to that. So you can sprinkle in humor, and it doesn't have to be from your own jokes or your own personality to show up as who you are. That is the most important lesson, because who you are is unique and people need that energy. So the third step to becoming a more confident, charismatic speaker is impact. Now, here's the thing. And this is really important. Using your words, your voice, your space, your energy, getting out there and sharing your stories and ideas and your power statements, that really does make impact. And it's really easy to say, go out there and do it. Write down your ideas, get on LinkedIn Live, or do a quick reel and share your thoughts. But people hold back. And so the reason why I bring up impact is to share with you the mindset that hold people back most often. I'm going to go through them with you very quickly. Take some notes, and then watch the recording again and really take time to write down how they show up for you. I call them the 3 vultures, because they peck away at our possibility and our potential, and they stop us before we even start. So maybe you can see some of these vultures in you. The first vulture is, again, these are mindsets. How do we think? Who am I to think I can? If you've ever thought that about anything in life, you're human. So welcome, congratulations. But when we hear it in our minds, it is our way of keeping ourselves safe because comfort is and control feels better than the change that is required by actually sharing and getting out there. So who am I to think I can? Let's change that when you hear it or you say it, you think it to I am worthy enough to try. Right? You have enough in you to be able to share this. You have enough in you that it is of value. Somebody needs to hear what you have to share. I can promise, I can guarantee you. I can't guarantee a lot of things, but I can guarantee you that. The second vulture that pecks away at our possibility is, can I actually do that? Right? This is skills based. Like often, if you're most likely you're here because you're a high achiever, I would imagine if I sat down with each of you, you're here because you want to make impact, you want to do good stuff. Can I actually do that? You get that opportunity, kind of hold yourself back. Well, remember, you can learn. So don't have confidence in your abilities, have confidence in your ability to learn. So when you're asked to do that presentation for 2 hours on a subject that you're super passionate about, but you've never done it before, yes, you can. Why? Because you can learn. And the third vulture, what will other people think? What will people in my industry think? If I get up there and I think I have enough, the audacity of me to think I can talk about that. Yeah. Well, if you have a whispering to do it, there's a reason for that because you need to make impact via your voice. What will other people think? When you think it yourself, that mindset, we're going to catch it and we're going to reframe it to who will I inspire? And I guarantee you again, I'll say it 1,000 times, when you get up and share your thought leadership, when you share your stories and your lessons learned, your golden nuggets and your impact statements, you will inspire people. So there you have it. How am I doing? Oh, look at that. 10:30. And we started a couple minutes late, right? So I got a couple more minutes. Content, delivery, impact, or the flip side of that coin, resistance, right? What is holding you back? Because the impact is given. If you get out there and you share, it is given. It's the resistance that actually holds us back. And so my challenge for you is to step beyond the resistance so you can actually take action and start sharing your thought leadership in a way that is going to serve you and feel good because it's an expression of your creativity and who you are. And of course, also be a benefit for other people, whether it's in your business, your organization, your personal life, and of course, in our community, the world in general. So my challenge for you is to decide on one action step. How can you today share your thought leadership? Is it via a quick video on social media? Is it through maybe a workshop at your organization? Perhaps you can write a blog and share that as well. Usually written is a little bit easier to start, but of course this is Speak Plus, so I'm going to ask you to use it verbally, to share it verbally as well. How can you take a small step towards sharing your thought leadership in a way that serves you and others as well? And there you have it. Now, a quick information about my Speak Plus program before I open it up to our Q&A, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I have this blocked off for an hour, so feel free. If you have to leave, I totally understand. I'll be sending out the recording via the LinkedIn event. I'll have to just do a link there for you. Or if you've signed up on Eventbrite, I'll send it to you via email. So my Speak Plus program is a 12-week coaching program that teaches you the skills, the mindset, and industry must-haves to rock your stage, to actually get on stages, to ask for the opportunities, to have all the marketing collateral, to have your thought leadership organized, and of course, to actually write your speech and deliver it. You can find out more details at passionateigniter.ca/speak plus. It's my baby. It's one of my favorite things to do. We have tons of, I have fun in the Facebook group, at least. I was going to say, we all have tons of fun, but I think some people it's a challenging program. I'm asking you to do things that are uncomfortable, but you will be miles ahead by the time you're done in 12 weeks. So right now, thank you for joining in on a free Speak Plus mini workshop, and you can actually save $300 if you use the code SPRING into Speak Plus. You can start on any Wednesday. It's not cohort based. It's based every Wednesday. Some new people come in, and you can either text me for more information at this number or go to passionateigniter.ca/speak plus to send in a form to me or reach out on LinkedIn. However you want to reach out. I'm here to be of service, to offer value, and to help you to actually share your thought leadership in a way that feels good and creates the maximum impact that it can. So again, thank you for being on the workshop. But hey, let's get to some of the questions that you might have. Does anyone have something they want to ask that I guarantee if you're asking it, someone else is too. So anyone? I'm going to bring up the group here. I'm going to stop sharing. Um, so I can see.
Okay, I'll go. I
Yes.
notice I have a tendency to before I start speaking to sort of laugh, to go like and then talk, even if it's super serious. I'll just like,
Yeah.
how do you get rid of those stupid little things that you do that you know are not effective?
Well, first of all, it's awesome you have self-awareness you're doing them because that's the first step.
Well, I'm recorded. It's like I go to APC meetings, I'm live cast and recorded. So I watch them back and I go, ooh.
Oh, you notice it, right? And we're always our worst critic as well. I think it takes practice. And so the more times you put yourself in the position, start really small. Say, okay, at the beginning of this presentation, I'm going to be very intentional about using pie or taking a breath or asking a question to stop yourself from doing that giggle and say, I'm only committed to not doing it at the very beginning. And then once you kind of master that, you can add it to other, elements. So just, and have a lot of grace for yourself because I guarantee you're just so much harder on yourself than other people are being when they're watching. But it's great that you have the self-awareness. So create a new opening, a new intro that is super intentional. Is that helpful at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I just have to think about what it would be. But yeah, I think so. It's almost like cognitive therapy, right? You just sort of build a new pathway in your brain.
Exactly. Yeah, it's habit because you probably just have this habitual reaction because you're a little nervous and you got that kind of built up energy kind of thing. Yeah. I find asking questions in the beginning is just a very easy way of opening up. And then it's almost like taking control. I don't like the word control, but taking control of the conversation in the beginning. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Yeah. And just doing and putting yourself in the position you have to do it again and again and again to rewire the brain. That's a great question, though. Thank you. How about anyone else? I love questions. Oh, well, if you want to ask the question privately, feel free to do that too. This is how I am of service. Oh, does someone want to speak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll ask a question. Um, I think one of the issues that I've kind of struggled with over the years is that, um, I think it's the issue of focus. Like you mentioned it earlier, like you have all of this information in your head, you sort of prepared what you need to say, and then, um, like for me at least, it just kind of rushes all back in at the most inopportune moment. And you kind of trip over yourself because you're trying to filter out the information that you don't need,
Hmm.
that for some reason your brain is trying to tell you, okay, but you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to talk about this and you need to talk about that, but it's not probably pertinent to the presentation or the room, or or whatever you're doing at that moment.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess it kind of speaks to kind of Nicole's question, like how do you kind of like get that thing to settle down where you're trying to fight information, like fight yourself to hold back information.
Because you have so much in your brain, right?
Yeah, and you want to focus, but you're kind of fighting yourself to do it because you, you, like you said, you want to share, but
Hmm.
there's a point where you can't share too much
Yeah.
and it kind of derails what you're doing.
That is very true. And I think it's the biggest challenge of speakers is we want to put so much value because we care into
Hmm.
what we're offering that we just overload people. And the human brain only has the capacity to take in a few things. Truly, right? Like three or four
Wow.
points. That's really it. I'm a big believer that when you're first starting out or until you're comfortable not to have it, I think notes are very useful. But notes are used very strategically in Speak Plus because, again, I never want anyone to memorize anything. And they are just basic point form, major headline ideas to help you stay on track. So that even if you
Hmm.
do get off track and start talking about something else, and your inner voice, your inner brain, which talks to us constantly while we're talking, right? It's like, whoa, stop, get back on track. You can easily look at your notes and say, okay, I'm going to get back to, and here's my point number two, right? So people are always afraid to use notes, and I'm not saying you are, but this often comes up. But I believe header notes are actually super effective.
Okay, I'll have to try that because I've never actually tried that before. I just, you're kind of guided by what you prepare. And
Yeah.
but yeah, but it's not written down anywhere or yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, all right.
Yeah, but
I hear what
key.
you're saying.
Oh, good. And just to reinforce, the key is they have to be big point ideas, like no bullet,
Right.
bullet, 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 because then you kind of get sucked into the details,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah. Anyways, so hopefully that's helpful.
Yes, that is. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Anyone else? Any other questions? Does anyone here, are you actively looking to get speaking engagements for whether it's lead generation or just to share your ideas and thoughts? Anyone in the group? Out of curiosity? Oh, okay.
Mirapels, you should totally be a speaker because you are captivating when you're talking even about boring things like finance.
Yeah, I agree.
Nicole Richard, I love you so much.
I love that cheerleading on. Thanks, Nicole. That's a great addition. I like your background too. It speaks to so much of what you do. Good to see you.
I don't know how to do that fogging out thing.
Oh, but you know what? Okay, I believe the fogging out thing, and if you're using it, it's totally fine. But here's the thing: people like to see real backgrounds too, right? And sometimes we lose arms or ears, or I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but recently I was talking to a client and she had the background fuzzed out, and every time she went like this, a Visa card showed up in her hand. So she's just talking, and a Visa card would show up. I'm not kidding you. I should have recorded it. And I said to her, I'm like, I thought maybe her company was sponsored by Visa or something. I'm like, do you know a credit card shows up in your hand when you do this? And she goes, what? No. And she didn't see it. Anyways, I saw it. Weird. Has anyone else experienced that? So weird, right? Anyways, and that was a Zoom call, I believe. So anyway, questions? Anyone else? And again, feel free to share them privately as well. No? Okay, well, I will leave it at that, but thank you for joining, and I appreciate you being here because I like to talk about this stuff. I hope there was some value you got out of it, even if it's a little tidbit here or there. It's all we can hope for as speakers, is that some seed was planted, and then whether it grows now or later, that is of service to you. So thank you again. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, Trisha Miltimore. I am on Instagram as well, but I prefer LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook, and of course at passionateigniter.ca is my website too. So thank you for joining in. Have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday and hopefully see you online soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Bye, everyone.
All right, thank you so very much.
Welcome.